and take it back.
I took it back. All
So,
right.
thank you, sir.
So I'm going to mute everybody.
and Women's Ministry Ministerial Liaison. Currently, she serves alongside her husband, and she is peacock proud. She is an effective teacher, a mentor, an anointed preacher, and her greatest passion is empowering youth and women. Cynthia J. has the uncanny ability to bring life and biblical life application to biblical interpretation. Reverend C's humor and energy in the pulpit are both inspiring and life-changing. Cynthia J. is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. In November of 2019, God brought Reverend C full circle to return to her home church and serve as great pastor at Paramount Baptist Church in the Southeast Washington, D.C. area. Peacock proud, I said. Peacock proud. And she is the proud parent of Kenneth Eugene Riolan III. Today, Reverend C is making history on the World Wide Web to release her testimony of grace and mercy, which is recorded in her book entitled My Job Experience. Friends and family, please like and share her Facebook pages. That's Cynthia Riolan and Cynthia J. Enterprises. This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. With great expectations, we decree and declare that the entire world is a better place because of the ministry of Cynthia J. Enterprises. As you get ready, Facebook, this is live. It's going to be explosive. This is a party with a purpose, which is being hosted by the beautiful TV personality of WBGR Entertainment, Lisa Harris Green. Take it away, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Stacy. Oh my goodness, what can I say after all that, huh?
Yes.
But I am so excited to be here with you, Reverend C. And look here, Facebook family, you are in for a treat. Reverend C is the author of My Job Experience. And you are so blessed to be here. I'm not going to tell your story for everybody else, but I am so happy that I can sit here with you for you to tell your story. How are you? How you feeling today?
I am feeling absolutely wonderful. I feel blessed to be here. This experience in itself is just overwhelming. So thank you for having me today, Lisa.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. This is so exciting, everybody. But I'm going to ask a couple questions that I know that our audience out there, because we have a lot of people popping up on the audience, and I know they have questions for you. But tell us a little bit, what does the title mean? My Job Experience.
Well, it's funny you asked that, Lisa, because when we actually, when I named the book and we started producing the book and trying to figure out the cover, everyone was saying my job experience, but it's actually my Job experience. Because of my encounter with Steven Johnson syndrome, it really mirrored some of what Job went through in his testimony. So when I named this book, it was easy to name it My Job Experience.
Okay. How did you overcome writer's cramp? Because that's your experience.
I started with my two sisters, Alva and Gladys. When I said my Job experience, they added the testimony of God's grace and mercy to it. So 2 years ago, I started writing, but you know, the discipline to sit down and wondering, does anybody really want to hear? And actually, the pandemic, or as I like to call it, the plandemic, provided that space and opportunity. And I just started sitting down and writing. A very good friend who's like a life coach, Dr. Marcia Whitaker, said, just try to write 15 minutes a day. And as I sat down, it just started to flow out of me.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, I really want to know, what did you think people would think about it if you wrote this book? And if you, because you're very transparent in the book. Now, I've touched a couple pages, and I tried to skim through, but I need to read the whole thing. But what did you think? Did you feel that people would think, oh, she's telling too much, or oh, should I really do this? How did you feel right there?
To tell you the truth, it's my story.
Yes.
And I wanted to share it to the world and be transparent.
Yes.
And always, when you share your personal testimony, your story, you open yourself to criticism, to judgment. And so you cannot be concerned about that. When you know what your purpose is and why you're doing what you're doing, there are always going to be some naysayers. But I like to look at those who will be blessed and transformed by the sharing of my testimony.
Yes. Well, we are very honored to have a doctor to come and join us on the set. I want to tell you all a little bit about the doctor that's going to come in and chime in with us. So let me get my papers together here. But we are pleased and honored to have Dr. Carrie Lewis, the chair of the University of Maryland Capital Region Health OBGYN Department at Prince George's Hospital in Cheverly, Maryland. He is trained in obstetrics and gynecology and is one of the top perinatologists in the nation's capital. He treats a worldwide range of women's health issues and have over 30 years of experience. I have had the pleasure of working with him as his department assistant at Howard University Hospital during his tenure there. I welcome and I introduce to you Dr. Carrie Lewis.
Pleasure and honor to participate in this. I want to congratulate the Reverend on her book. I think it's from what I've heard about in our previous discussions, it's something that is truly going to be valuable to a lot of people, particularly hearing the struggles that you've had, particularly as it relates to your diagnosis and how you overcame that. It's truly, truly, absolutely a blessing to be able to sit here with you today and be able to talk to you about it and hopefully be able to share some aspects of this. And even though this is not my specialty, as we talk about it, I will tell you how I have a personal appreciation for the specific diagnosis as we talk about it.
Okay, wonderful. As we get started, can you tell them a little bit about what Stevens-Johnson syndrome is?
Sure, I'd love to. Stevens-Johnson syndrome is to really make it as straightforward as possible. It is a result of an autoimmune type of a disease. What autoimmune means, auto means itself, right? So there's a lot of diseases that we tend to try and manage that are the result of the body's response to an infection or to a medication or to some stimulus that results in making in the body naturally trying to attack this foreign event, but unfortunately it results in attacking ourselves. So as a result of that, patients that, for example, have lupus or have other types of autoimmune disorders, it's usually stimulated by some viral infection or something that happened, and then those antibodies that were meant to attack the virus actually end up attacking the self. And so it destroys a lot of the self in terms of multiple organs. And so a lot of people go into organ failure, like with lupus, they go into renal failure and other types of autoimmune disorders. And usually there's some kind of a stimulus that results in this event happening that Stevens-Johnson falls into that category.
Yeah, so that's what my next question was, what triggers it, but you did just answer that. Is this a hereditary type disease?
It's really not hereditary, but some people are predisposed to developing the disease. So, for example, you have everybody has their own genetic makeup, right? And if you're never exposed to certain things, you'll never get sick because you've never been exposed to it, right? But if you are exposed to something and you are genetically predetermined to respond to it in a certain way, then you will have that rare response that is manifested by some significant disease that ends up showing in a lot of different ways. So, for example, in Stevens-Johnson syndrome, it is primarily manifested by skin lesions, things that happen on the skin. And these blisters and these lesions end up resulting in skin changes where the skin actually sloughs off and it actually comes off. And it can be stimulated by either what we think happens is that when you get a lot of people, it happens when they take certain antibiotics. So when they take antibiotics, it attacks the virus or it attacks the bacteria. And when it attacks those structures, it releases all these substances into your body, and your body responds to it. And when your body responds to it, because you have this genetic predisposition to that response, it ends up attacking the substance that stimulated the response, but also attacks the cell, the body itself. And with Stevens-Johnson's, like I mentioned, the characteristic of that attack is on skin. It also causes a pneumonia. And it can also cause other organs to fail, because when you can imagine when the skin breaks down, that's the skin itself is its own protective barrier against infections and other things. So what ends up happening when the skin breaks down, now you have fluid imbalances that occur. The skin is able to increase risk of infection, so you get all these blisters, these infections, and you get an infection to your blood, and then you can actually die from it. And actually, 10% of people die from it. And this is when I'll interject my experience. And one of my mentors, and Lisa, you may remember him, we actually hired him for a temporary period of time at Howard. And he was an older gentleman who was actually my mentor. And unfortunately, during a meeting in New Orleans, he actually acquired Stevens-Johnson syndrome because they were treating him for pneumonia. And they treated him, I can't remember what the antibiotic was, but his response was the manifestation of Stevens-Johnson syndrome, and unfortunately, a few days later, he passed as a result of it. So, so that has been my personal exposure to the severity of that disease. So the fact that the Reverend has overcome it, such a potentially devastating disease, is truly, truly a blessing. And it's very important that people realize how tragic this disease can be, and to overcome it is really truly is a blessing.
Yes. So, Dr. Lewis, quick question. Why don't we hear much about this disease?
Well, it's rare. It is very rare. It is very rare. And again, like I said before, there are not many people that have the genetic information necessary to respond to some environment stimulus that results in this disease happening, right? It's very rare. And so most people think that when they see it's usually an allergic reaction. They think it's as an allergic reaction. You were exposed to something, and now you have these skin lesions, and it's an allergy. Well, it's really not an allergy, right? It's really an immune response. Mm-hmm. And unless you're exposed to it, and if you understand immune, I was an immunology major in college, so that's why I understand it pretty well. The immune response is very, 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 very specific. Right. And so to that extent, you have to have a certain predisposition to responding to it in such a way that this happens. I mean, to be honest with you, it's very simple. The response is very similar to COVID, except with COVID, the response is primarily in the lungs. Right. Your body gets exposed to this virus, and it attacks the virus. And unfortunately, the attack of that virus results in breaking down the lungs and tearing up the lungs and other organs. Same thing with Stevens-Johnson, but more specifically, the attack is towards the skin and not towards the lung. So it's rare only because it is genetic. You have
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Lewis. We appreciate you. And we have some exciting entertainment for you all. Eric Taylor studied at Virginia Commonwealth University and transitioned from the cello to his passion and God-given gift, the violin performance. His music, ministry, and energetic performance penetrates the heart and has been described as soulful, uplifting, refreshing, inspiring, and anointed. Eric was recently featured live on the Word Network with Dr. Jamal Bryant, Pastor Hezekiah Walker, and has also been featured on the 700 Club, Turning Point, and Good Morning America. Kirk Franklin, Ramsey Lewis, Vicki Wyman, Shirley Murdoch, Kim Burrell, Jonathan Nelson, Beverly Crawford, and the late Nancy Wilson are just a few gospel and jazz artists whom Eric has shared the stage with. Sit back and enjoy this breathtaking performance by Mr. Eric Taylor.
Reverend C, I'm so happy to be with you and to just celebrate this momentous occasion. Thank you for having me on. This is per your request. This is a song that I love. It's a clever remix of Tasha Cobb's Happy and Pharrell's Happy. And certainly this is a happy occasion. So I hope you and everyone in Facebook land enjoys this. Happy. Here we go. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Yes.
Well, hello.
Hi there.
Welcome.
Thank you.
My pastor and the Peacock Proud husband
Yes.
of Reverend Cynthia Riolan of Cynthia J. Enterprise.
Yes.
Okay, did I get it all right?
I mean, there are many titles.
Okay, there are many types, but I try to get them all together.
I think you got them.
Well, I'm so glad you're able to join us today on this platform.
Good to be here.
Thank you for being here
Yes, ma'am.
as well. So we're going to start out with Reverend C for some questions that you may want to chime in on.
Okay.
Okay, so our audience want to know. Lisa wants to know. So we're going to start out with, why was this a good time to write your book? What made this that perfect time?
Again, like I said, with the pandemic or the plandemic, I'm sitting at home and I can't go anywhere. I have no excuses. So it just provided the space and time to finally write. And I just believe that God does everything in his timing. So
Yes.
This was the timing to bring it forth, to release it. So I'm just excited to finally have given birth to that which I've been carrying. So
What was the experience like?
the experience in terms of
Writing the book.
writing the books, sometimes it was emotional
Yes.
as I began to write some of the chapters in there and to recount. There's a particular chapter that talks about Bishop Anthony Macklin, the First Lady Peggy Macklin, came to come pray over me. And in that first week when I went into the hospital, I had no recollection because they had heavily sedated me to be able to endure the pain. But oddly, how God works, I remember them coming in and praying with me. I can see them so clearly. But at any rate, writing that chapter and hearing them to come pray, that one got a little emotional. And you'll have to read a little bit further. I don't want to give it away. What he shared with me about his experience to come and pray with me, but that was emotional.
Oh, wow. So, Pastor,
Yes, ma'am.
what was your experience like when she said, I'm going to write this book? Because I know it's some things you tried to protect her from,
Right.
just from hearing your stories
Right.
that you didn't want her to know throughout this illness that she had
Sure.
during her time in the hospital. What was your experience like? So should I tell her? Should I not tell her? How much should I tell her?
Right. So, my wife has been very transparent, and in this moment, I guess I should be the same. When she began to talk about the thought of writing the book, my initial response internally was no. I had lived it, and I knew the reality of how difficult it was, and I knew a lot of the pain that came with it. And so I just didn't want her to subject herself to rehash and to expose herself to others that may not be sensitive to her journey. And as a protector, as a husband, my initial response was, let's not do that. I never articulated that because it's her journey. And I recognize that. And so, although I personally had some apprehension, I was excited for her to walk out on faith and tell her story.
Okay, all right. Reverend C, what did you learn about yourself right now?
I think I learned that I can do it.
Okay.
That I can really do it, that I finished, I completed it. And there were 4 people that, as far back as 10 years ago or more, who kept saying, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. And actually there was another book that I started writing. So this is not my initial book I had planned to write, but this was so powerful and so easy, it encouraged me. But there were 4 people that just kept saying, you need to write a book. Gail Haney, Pam Williams, Tracy Harding, and Stacey Edens. And I have emails and stuff of them sending me stuff over the years.
What reservations did you have? Like, I shouldn't tell this part, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell it. What parts gave you some pause? Like,
I'm going to be very honest with you. I didn't experience that. I was like, I'm going to tell, and everything that I feel led to give or whatever, I didn't hold much back. I really didn't. And as I said, when you make yourself transparent, you run a lot of risk of criticism and those kinds of things. So, but I didn't have any reservations. I said, this is my story. This is my song, praising my Savior all the day long.
so God wanted you to write this book.
yes,
It was
ma'am.
time for you to write
Yes,
this book. Okay. What surprised you the most in creating this book? Like putting it together, what surprises hit you? Like,
That's a great question. So as Dr. Lewis shared that Stephen Johnson syndrome, I was being treated for a neurological issue, and the medicine that I took caused me to have Stephen Johnson syndrome. And so as a result of that, it was just very emotional, but I learned a lot.
okay. The day, I'm gonna start with Pastor on this question. The day that she entered the hospital, what did you see happen to her body before she tell us how she felt?
Right. So the day that she entered the hospital, I was in Louisville, Kentucky. I was away preaching on a preaching engagement. When I left, she had begun not to feel great, and I almost canceled the trip. She pushed me to go,
That's her.
but there was some people around. Our spiritual daughter was around, and so there were some other people, and I knew she was in good hands. But initially, the day that she was in the hospital, I literally was preaching. I didn't find out till after I finished preaching because she wouldn't let them tell me that she was in the hospital. I couldn't get a flight out that day. It wasn't until the next day that I could get out. And day one of seeing her was tough, but not the toughest. At that point, I don't think there's ever been a night that she had stayed in the hospital since we had been together. We'd gone to the hospital, but not overnight.
Right.
And she was okay day one, but pretty quickly it progressed, or digressed, if you will, and it got to be pretty tough.
Okay.
So-
So how did you feel?
So
Going
when I went in, I had a fever of 103. And so for a week, I was like in chills and I was so cold. I mean, I had sweatsuit on, socks, and I had like 3 or 4 blankets and an electric blanket, but I could not get warm. And so in terms of that question you asked, what surprised me is that those 2 years, because this happened in just before my 50th birthday in 2018, and along the way, I kept asking my husband, I want to see the pictures. And he would say, okay. And you know how you just go on to something else? And then, you know, a month or two later,
Yes.
I want to see the pictures. And he's like, okay. And so what happened was when I went into that hospital on that Friday, my cousin, Dr. Yvonne Trigger Moore, had called me and she was like, you don't sound good. I call her mama cousin because she's an older cousin that bosses my 4, me and my 3 other siblings. And she was like, no, you're going to the doctor. So from here to Chester, Virginia, she found a doctor. And when I saw the doctor, he said I had strep throat. So what it was like for me, I went in the hospital on Friday. They admitted me. When I woke up, it was a week later.
Wow.
And I woke up to the burn unit changing my bands. And I looked down. And so for me to wake up and see this, but fast forward to talk about those pictures because I want to correlate those.
Yes.
My husband's such a protector. When I started writing the book, finally when I finished the book, 2 years I've been asking for the pictures, but never realized he didn't give me the pictures. You know, he's very good at, you know, maneuvering around issues. So at any rate, when he passed me the pictures, it brought back all of the memories again. And when I saw them, I did not know the extent of what I had gone through because I missed a lot of it. And so that's why I shared the pictures.
Yes.
So people could really see, you know, my testimony.
Yes. So Pastor, during the progression that she was in a coma for a week, how did you do? How did you feel?
I don't know but one way, Lisa, and that's just to do what you have to do. All I know is to put one foot in front of the other, and there's no quit in us. So we just fight.
Yes.
And so day in and day out, we just fought. Not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and rulers and high places. Somebody catch that later. So every day it was just holding on.
Yes.
And I held on as long as I could.
And in your holding on, I know that Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, may they rest in peace, you had to step in those shoes. You had to stay in the shoes as daddy. You had to stay in the shoes as husband. You had to stay in the shoes as a protector. And you had to be in the shoes as a pastor. How did you pull it all together? Because your son told the story of you sleeping on a couch about this size every night that she was in the hospital.
No celebration for me. First of all, I have 2 amazing sisters-in-law, Alva and Gladys. I have an amazing cousin/sister, Dr. Monique Fountain, Hannah. They assisted along the way. There were other friends and family, but there was nothing else to do but to make it happen. And we rocked together. So I couldn't quit on her.
You're rock, huh? That's
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
So how do you feel now that you have been through this and you're able to tell your story to help someone else?
Well, Lisa, let me tell you, throughout this process, there were times I cried.
Yes.
There were times I said, why me? And that's a little bit why I related to Job. And, you know, God says, have you considered my servant Job? And not that I'm so perfect or anything like that, but I never really, I don't know what, I never got down in a real slump. You know, there were some days, but I didn't allow myself to have a pity party. And even in the hospital, you know, I would try, I'm like, I'll do it. I can do this. I can get out of this bed. So let me try first. So I didn't allow myself to really, to get really down. And then I had, you know, my husband's the type of person that's not going to let you go there. My sisters were there, and you know, so I had people of faith around me, and a lot of people prayed for me. So
I understand there's a point in the book, and that they were praying over you, but you were always calling Jesus.
Yes, so that's one of the chapters about what's in you will come out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I don't recall this, but my husband said that during that time, under my breath, I just kept saying, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
It's all right. It's all right. But that was your fighting you.
Yeah.
That was your fighting you.
Yeah, that even in a coma,
Mm-hmm.
I could call on Jesus.
That's right.
And to know that I did that, it just, that's what's in me.
Yes.
And in that difficult time, that's what came out of it.
Yes, yes. So during that difficult time, I know it became difficult for you as well. And she's about to make me mess up my lashes here. I'm just going to let y'all know.
No, that's not an option.
But during that difficult time, tell us your story.
So really part of, and you can attest to this, I didn't want to sit on the couch because this is really about her.
Yes.
But what I will say is I learned what for better or for worse.
Amen.
I learned richer for poor.
Yes.
I learned in sickness and in health.
Yes.
And I often talk to people about what it is to be committed. It's easy to commit when it's easy,
Yes.
but in the difficult moments. So for me, it was just there was no alternative.
Right.
It was time to show up, and I credit even my father. My father was the type of person, type of husband, type of dad that always showed up. It was time to show up for my wife, and so that's what I did.
He showed up.
You showed up and showed out too, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you a quick break for a minute because Dr. Lewis got cut off for a minute. But Dr. Lewis, we were almost at the end of the questions that I have for you, but I wanted to know, what advice do you have for our audience with Stevens-Johnson syndrome? If someone even has an inkling this may be happening to them, what advice do you have for them as a physician?
And it's been really an honor. I'm sorry I got disconnected, but it's been an honor just to listen to the story and to the experience. I mean, it's very touching in terms of what you went through. And the one thing that I forgot to talk about that you mentioned, which people probably didn't understand, these people listening, why were you in the burn unit? You're in the burn unit because that's the only place that takes care of that level of skin disorder, right? You had a diffuse, it's like having a burn. It's like having a burn. And usually because of the risks associated with that, the things I talked about, fluid changes, risk of infection, all of that, that's why the only place that these patients really can go to and actually survive is usually in a burn unit or a place that has that kind of knowledge. And like you asked me the question before, why it doesn't happen more often, it doesn't because of the reasons I said before, but it also is why a lot of places don't know how to take care of it. So Reverend was very, very fortunate. I'm not sure which institution she was at. I don't know, but whatever that institution was, the fact that they had you in a burn unit, they clearly knew what they were doing. And God gave them the knowledge and the ability to take care of you and bring you through something that could have been more devastating and could have resulted in a more permanent damage in addition to death. But in terms of, there's really no way to prevent it. There's really no way to predict it. We don't all know our genetic makeup. Maybe one day in the future, we'll have this book that says what our entire genetic makeup is and what you should and shouldn't do, what you should and shouldn't expose yourself to because of the risks associated with it. But we're not that far yet. So I would say as far as predicting it, there's really no way of doing that. But I would say in relationship to like what Reverend said about, you know, initially the doctor thought she had strep throat. I think that it's important to, when you start having skin lesions, I mean, this is really manifested by skin. When you see these unlikely skin lesions, you just don't say that they're just an allergic reaction to something, right? Especially when they're all over your body. They really should be looked at to make sure they're on. Most of the time, they probably are just an allergic reaction because this is so rare. But because this is such a life-threatening condition, we need to make sure that you go to seek out medical advice to make sure make sure that is what it is and it's not do something else. And when you have when your skin is coming off and sloughing off, that's not just an allergic reaction. So I think in that respect, when it happens, it's important to get medical advice and even get a second opinion sometimes if you're not comfortable with that answer.
Yeah, that was one of the things I experienced. Someone just reminded me last week, and I didn't even remember that. So God has a way of just, but literally they would have to keep changing my sheets because they was just literally flesh all over the place. And they would just my skin falling off, but I'm still here by the grace of God. And I brought this with me. I wanted to share this with you all. When I was in the hospital, and this is also a chapter of the book, What Are You Holding On To? I had a feeding tube. Some of my systems had started to shut down. And my sisters were saying I kept trying to pull, the wires out the feeding tube. And the doctors wanted to tie me down. And my sisters and my husband, they were like, no, we're going to sit here and make sure that she doesn't do this. And they said I will sit there like, Cynthia J, like an hour to get 1 mid off. And they said they'll put it back on. And my sister Gladys came up with this great idea. She said, let's give her something to hold on to. And so this is the little pink pillow that my sister gave me to hold on to keep me from pulling out my tube. So I wanted to share that because
that's special.
This is going to always be special to me, this little pink pillow.
I love it. I love it. Dr. Lewis, we do want to thank you and God bless you for sitting on this platform with us today. And thank you so much again just for saying yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thank you. My pleasure.
All right. So now, Reverend C, how is your life now that you have gone through this experience?
I have some challenges. Honestly, I'm not that 100%. I'm probably about 80, 85%. Just having that strength back. I don't have the strength that I had before. And I did develop neuropathy in my feet. So wearing my heels, my high fashion has gone to low fashion. But, I'm still here. And when you go through an experience like this, your perspective changes in terms of what's really important, the things that you value, things of that nature. So, when I say I'm glad just to be here, to see another day,
yes.
And I know there's purpose in me,
yes.
And there's still some things that God has me on this earth to fulfill.
Yes.
And so really, I just look at this as my second win.
Okay,
and so y'all need to get ready because the book is just the beginning.
Yes.
Of what God is going to do. I don't even know what it is. Eyes have not seen, the ears have not heard, but I know God is doing something great.
And don't let her fool you. She is my first lady, and nothing stops her. But pastor, okay?
Oh yeah.
Occasionally.
Oh, he can shut it down. Y'all know he can shut it down.
So what's next? What's next? I know you have something brewing in the background. We got the Job experience out. You have something in you. You have so much more in you.
I gotta hold it in. I can't share it yet, but for those who have joined Cynthia J Enterprises and liked my page, you'll be hearing some things that's going to be coming out the next thing. And I'm laying before the Lord to seek. And I'll be honest, I don't know all of it. God has not revealed it all to me. But as I get it, like Rebecca, I'm writing the vision and I'm making it plain. And I'm so grateful for those who have been supportive of my ministry
Yes.
for 30 years.
Yes.
And so this has been overwhelming. And my church family, Paramount, has been awesome. All of the congregations that I've shared with before have been awesome in this process.
Yes. So, Pastor, what advice do you have for a husband that would have stood in your shoes? Well, since you stood in those shoes,
Right.
what advice would you have for someone who's standing in those shoes now?
Yeah, so the truth of the matter is it's difficult. It's not easy to see someone you love
Yes.
suffer. Some of the stuff that she speaks about, she doesn't remember because she was sedated. I lived it. And so what I would tell someone that has a spouse, whether it's husband or wife that's suffering, is you're uniquely positioned for this moment. It may be a surprise to you, but it's not a surprise to God. And so God placed you there for such a time as this. And so you don't have to have the whole skill set. Just show up. One of the things I learned in seminary is sometimes the greatest ministry is just the ministry of presence.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you want to show up for your spouse.
Yes.
And on the other side, you get a chance to see the fruition of God's favor. If I can just say this, I stand in awe of this woman. I always have. I've always known how amazing she was. But my excitement is the rest of the world now gets a chance to see what I've known for many, many years.
So, say if she writes another book, are you ready for that?
No. No, my house has been turned upside down. My car has become a truck, a moving truck.
Okay.
No, I'm not ready. But just like everything else she's ever done, I'm here to support her.
Okay. Okay.
And I do want to celebrate my alma bear, my spiritual daughter, Rosie Carter.
Yes.
Rosie came every day for 6 weeks. She worked and then she came and she stayed with me because Pastor will be doing things during the day. And so she would come over, and there were a lot of other people, but every day Rosie was there. And when he would come in, then she'd go home and he'd stay the night with me. So I'm grateful to her for her ministry of presence.
Oh, bless her heart. And Rosie is around somewhere. So, yeah. So
She always is.
Always is. That's right. So we are excited. We want to make sure. Tell them about your book and how they can purchase your book. You have T-shirts.
Yes. My Job experience. If you notice on the front, it was designed by one of my team members, Stacey Edens, my roommate in college. But there are pictures there, and it just talks about it shows my story through pictures. You can purchase this at www.cynthiajenterprises.com. I also have some T-shirts available that was created by Tasha Lee, Encore Crafts, and they've been selling like hotcakes. So I would love if you would go there, purchase a book. And I want you to know that this book is more than just about my Job experience, but I take different aspects of my life. It doesn't start at the Job experience, but who I am as a little girl growing up. And I make preachable moments that can speak to you. And there are little funny moments in there too. And the response has been awesome. Many people saying they're reading it in one night. So
yes.
I'm like, oh my goodness, that's so reaffirming.
Yes, because Mom was trying to tell me little bits and I said, no, baby, don't tell me. Her book has not even arrived yet, but she was reading my sister's book. I said, don't tell me yet. But this is very exciting for our Facebook viewers. If you have not, we have a lot of people sharing watch parties right now. If you have not liked Cynthia J Enterprises, please do so now, because I know, and I'm not even going to look at her, I know she has something else coming for us. And you want to be ready, because that's where she's going to let us know it's going to happen. But I'd like to thank the both of you. It just wasn't you, it's the both of you for being so transparent about your life and what happened in your life, how God moved in your life, and how you became a miracle. And we thank God for you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because after all that, guess what? The church you started out as a little girl came back.
Full circle.
That's right. And now you're my pastor and first lady. So that's just a blessing all by itself. So I thank God for keeping you and for you being here. But we have some exciting games that we did on Facebook. So we're going to spin the wheel because we have 3 raffles to do. All right, all right. Let's see. So the first gift will be.
You're gonna spin the wheel. Remember for the gift cards?
Okay, so we have 3 gift cards? 4 gift cards? Okay, so we're gonna spin the wheel and you're gonna let me know what the first gift will be?
Yes.
The first gift card? Okay. So I'm gonna spin the wheel. If you all can see this, we have added everyone's name who took their picture with the book or with their shirt and you posted it on Facebook. Either you tag Cynthia Riolin or Cynthia J Enterprises. You put your picture in there. We appreciate it. So we put everyone's name in here and we're going to spin the wheel and see who our first winner is.
Michelle Tyler Skinner.
Well, congratulations. You will receive a TJ Maxx gift card and we're going to be mailing those out.
Yes.
So make sure that you inbox your information to Cynthia J Enterprises. Okay?
Shout out Tyler.
So Pastor, Reverend C, we're gonna let you get the wheel for the next one. Just hit the middle of the wheel.
All right. I don't have my glasses.
All right.
Dr. Clara Powell Davis. First
Wait a
time.
minute.
Oh,
That was
wait.
Wanda Henry.
Wanda Henry. Oh my
Sorry.
goodness.
Miss Wanda Henry, you will be receiving a gift basket in the
Wanda.
mail. So inbox your information. I have your address, but inbox your address on Cynthia J Enterprises message board so we can make sure we can get that out to you, okay? So we're going to remove that one. And Pastor, you want to hit the middle of that one so we can get it going again?
Certainly.
And look at there, Susie Harris. How about that? It wasn't rigged, I promise. That's my mama, y'all.
The fix is in.
Definitely.
So you will get a Target gift card. And Reverend C, we have one more, right?
Yes.
Reverend C, you can do the honors of the last one. And the last one will go to Bernice Waller, and that will be an Amazon, a $50 Amazon gift card. So we thank you all, and look out because there may be more games that Reverend C wants to play on Cynthia J Enterprises. That's why it's important to like that page, okay? You have to like that page so you can participate in the goodies because you will have more, I'm sure. But we want to thank you all for joining us today. We want to thank you from the bottom of our heart for participating in the games. And like the page, get your book, get your t-shirt. Anything you want to say?
Yes, I want to thank my awesome team, executive producer, Brother Laronte Bryant, our strategist, Miss Pam Williams, marketing is Miss Stacy Edens, social media is Mrs. Lisa Harris Green, personal assistant, Rosie Carter, administrative assistant, Tiffany Butler. So I could not have possibly done it without them. And thanks to Brother Andre Coley.
Well, this concludes our show for today. God bless you all. Pastor, did you have anything to say before we left?
I wouldn't if you hadn't asked. I want to just say this to all that are listening. The book is far more than an autobiographical sketch of Cynthia Jackson Riolin. It's a story of God's grace and mercy. And so I want to encourage you, if you're not interested in reading about who she is, if you know someone that has travailed or that is going through, or if you yourself are trying to figure out how to get out of where you've been, I want to encourage you as someone that has read the book. It is encouraging, it is uplifting, it is inspiring to help you get through whatever you got to go through.
All
And
right.
shout out to my brother, Lord have mercy, because I said something about my sisters. He will have a nervous breakdown. He came from Chicago, Illinois, and stayed a week.
And cooked.
every day and clean the kitchen. That's the important part.
Somebody tell the Lord thank you.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much. Goodbye and God bless. We'll see you next time.